Hello, everyone. This is Jacob Owen again with Aruba. I'm a commercial systems engineer here in Indiana. I wanted to take some time today to go over Aruba's dynamic segmentation story. It's actually an architecture that we've been using for many years on the wireless side by using the layer 7 firewalling capabilities within our access points as well as our controllers. But it's also now a capability that we've brought into the switching fabric. So what dynamic segmentation effectively is the ability to dynamically segment different types of devices based on what type of device it is. So in the case of a domain connected Windows laptop, we're going to give that full access into the network. Whereas if it's an IoT device like a camera or maybe an HVAC controller, we're going to give that access to the network, but we're going to get a little bit more restrictive about what access they need. So in case of a network camera, maybe we'll only allow it to send data feeds to a DVR or a dedicated security network so people can watch video feeds. Same thing with HVAC. Maybe the only thing the HVAC device ever needs to do is talk to the HVAC controller or the main HVAC controller to get its information about what type of access or what type of temperature should be set or things like that. And it's done automatically through ClearPass. So what ClearPass is our policy enforcement engine that actually does profiling. So when a device connects, the switch actually talks to ClearPass and says, hey, this device is trying to connect. What do I need to do with it? ClearPass then looks at the device type and looks at the predetermined rule sets and applies policy. And by applying policy, it actually pushes down the role to the access switch, which allows us to reduce the amount of edge device configuration, which makes rolling out new switches much more simplistic because everything is contained within ClearPass. The access devices are simply just taking direction from ClearPass and providing PoE and network connectivity. One of the other advantages to dynamic segmentation is if you are using a Aruba controller-based solution, hardware-based solution, we also can create on-demand tunnels between the switches and the controllers, just like we do with our access points. So what this can do is if you have a certain type of user, so let's say it's an IoT device that we inherently do not trust, and we want to make sure that traffic is inspected much more diligently than standard camera or other types of traffic, we can actually create an on-demand tunnel back to a controller and take advantage of the layer 7 deep packet inspection firewall on the Aruba controller. Same thing applies for guests, for wired guests. We can create tunnels for guest users so that when a guest user connects, it creates a tunnel back to the controller and it simplifies the captive portal experience because we can already take advantage of the one that's already been built for the WLAN solution. One of the other things is that I've seen this work well in is environments where they have a large global VLAN, like a large campus that has to have the same layer 2 VLAN spread between many buildings. With dynamic segmentation, we can build a policy that says, hey, if this unique type of device connects to the network, we can create a tunnel and tunnel that traffic back to the controller. What that allows us to do is now remove the need for those large global layer 2 VLANs that we see a lot of times in campus environments. So this demo that I'm going to do is based around, we have a 2930M living inside of my demo kit, and I'm going to start connecting devices to it. What you're going to actually see is this switch is going to talk to a ClearPass appliance that lives out in our SEAL lab out in California, and it's actually going to tell the switch what to do with that user, based on profiling information that's received. So one of the things, as I was mentioning, that we will see is that we are able to actually predefine the policies on ClearPass and now, just push those policies down. So what I'm going to do here is this is actually the switch that I'm looking at or in my demo kit that I have here in the background. As you can see, no user roles have been downloaded. So effectively, this is a brand new switch. Everything is set to VLAN 1 on the edge ports. You can see, very basic vanilla config, VLAN 1 for everything, and then .1x as well as MAC authentication, as well as loop protect for loop prevention. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect a device. And then these are PoE devices, so they take a couple seconds to come online before they show up. Now you can see this device here. It's still booting, so it doesn't kind of have an identity yet. Okay, so in this case, it's come up as a headless device. It's identified as a Raspberry Pi. So it's been brought on. I'm going to do this with another device. Okay, so this one actually has never been on the network before. So ClearPass actually detected the fact that it had not been profiled, and it actually put the device into a profiling role. What that allows is it pushes a policy down to the edge switch that tells the switch, let this device on, but only allow it to do DHCP, because DHCP is our primary method to do profiling in a network environment. So what's actually happening now is ClearPass put it in a profiling role. The device was able to go out and get a DHCP address, and then as soon as ClearPass detected what the device was, it actually is going to do a change of authorization, which bounces the port and forces the device to come back through now that it has the profiling information. And now, as you can see, it's come up as a Apple TV. So that's how we can actually bring on devices that have never been seen before, but still secure the network, because we put them in kind of a almost like a walled garden where they can do a small amount of things like DHCP primarily, and then that allows them to, get profiled, and then, ClearPass kicks them off and brings it back through now that they have the profiling information, so they can make a decision. And as you can see, now that we've gone through here, you can actually see that it has downloaded the 3 roles that we've talked about here. The first one is the Apple TV role, so that's actually what the device was sent after it was profiled. The profiler role is actually what was sent when it didn't know what the device was, and then the headless device is the first device that I connected. So as you can see, these are actually being pushed down. If I were to make any changes to the policy on ClearPass, the next time a device connected, it would update these and push out to any time a new device connected. So we would have, you can keep track of your policy from a centralized location. So I'm plugging another device. One of the challenges we have in a lot of environments is, things like IEPs or voice phones. These IEPs maybe require different tagged VLANs to be on the uplinks. Well, we can have ClearPass detect that it's an access point and push out a policy that says, oh, that's an IEP. I need to tag VLANs, 10, 20, 30. And my untagged VLAN for management is, I don't know, VLAN 2. But it's all done dynamically. Same thing with voice. We can set it up for tagged VLANs so that if a different tagged VLAN is used, we can set it up there. Or the recommended way is to actually refer to the VLAN names. So that way we can have different VLAN IDs in different parts of the building, but a single policy calling out data or voice will hit any switch because they all have the same common name. They just have different underlying VLAN IDs. So one of the other components here is that we had talked about was if you have certain types of devices that need to have more inspection or more security done on them, we can actually have them backhaul that traffic to a controller. So what's going to happen now is I've actually plugged in some Raspberry Pis that have been specifically set up to trigger an event that causes the traffic to be backhauled. So as you can see here, these 2 devices just came online, and they both say that the forwarding mode is being tunneled, and this is the controller. So right now, this traffic is not egressing the network until it gets back to the controller out in California and egresses the network there. So we're actually taking advantage of that high performance layer 7 firewall on the Aruba controller, and it's all done dynamically. So this can be done very easy. And then finally, we have a network camera that I plugged in. So, kind of gone are the days of having to, have certain ports set up for security to know, where can they plug their cameras in. The edge really just becomes kind of the wild, wild west, because ClearPass is looking at the device and making that decision. The final piece is for wired guest or wired authentication on the edge. One of the things I run into a lot within customer environments is, the need for wired access in things like conference rooms or, different parts of the building where maybe vendors or consultants or someone come into and they need a wired connection. The challenge is that obviously somebody from IT has to go in and set up the guest VLAN to plug it in. With the Aruba dynamic segmentation story or solution, what we can do is we can actually just allow ClearPass to say, hey, I don't know or trust the device that's connecting because it's a Windows device doing Mac authentication, and I don't have any policies set up for them. So I'm going to give them a guest captive portal role. So what I've got here is I've actually got a Windows home device that is running in my lab, and it's got an external connection to my demo kit. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to connect it. And this does not have 802.1x or anything like that running. This is just a pure Mac authentication. Make sure that it's being smooth. Oh, unfortunately, this device has already been onboarded, so I'm going to add another. Now we're going to make sure that this device is coming up now as a so now I'm going to plug this in with a new network adapter so that I can detect that it has not been on the network before. And here we go. We've actually got a guest captive portal. So this is what we could actually use for customers or vendors or contractors. They could actually come in, plug into the network, and since they are not known, they're going to get a captive portal splash page, which can be done hosted on ClearPass. So here we can actually put in my information. And I'm going to put in my email address. So now we're going through the login process. So this is what I was able to do, is I was able to actually gather some information about the user before I give them access to my network. One of the other things that we do within ClearPass is every time a device authenticates, we can actually mark the endpoint. We can update the endpoint with a location. So we can actually see the last location where any device in the network was connected. It makes it easy to track down devices based on the last time they were connected, because every time they authenticate, that location gets updated. Same thing with WLAN. We can tell the last access point they were connected to when they authenticated. So as you can see now, I went through the login process, and now I have guest access. As you can see, my role has now changed from guest self-registration over to guest BOOD. So as I mentioned earlier, I think the Aruba dynamic segmentation story or solution, it can very easily help you secure your edge. It can reduce the amount of IT hands that have to be constantly changing ports, moving VLANs. But at the same time, it also allows, if you want to have a large, number of VLANs in your environment, if that's what your legacy environment is, looks like, we can leverage that with ClearPass. and we can automate the assignment of VLANs very rapidly. I hope you found this helpful and useful today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.